We go, Dave?
Yes, mate.
Well, good afternoon, viewers, race fans, and welcome to the 7th race of the 2017 Formula Sim Racing ACE Championship. We're here at the famous Hockenheim Ring for race 7 for a 67-lap event this afternoon, featuring some of the top sim racers in the world. Here joining me in the commentary box is the multiple podium-winning World Championship driver Martin Stefanko. How are you, Martin?
I'm great, thank you for the introduction, David.
Well, welcome aboard.
Thank you.
And as has often happened this season, it looks like weather may play an exciting part in the proceedings. I'm looking at a live satellite feed now, and there is a storm approaching from the west towards the Hockenheim Ring, and heavy rain is predicted. So even as soon as this qualifying session, which is about to get underway, we may see rain interfering. So I think what we'll experience is the drivers getting out there as quickly as humanly possible to set a lap on this 4.5 kilometre circuit. Just to mention to our new viewers, and I know we've got a loyal fan of Formula Sim Racing viewers who watch the streams week in, week out and join us live. So welcome to you all. But just to mention to new viewers, what we run here is the rFactor 2 simulation, which gives us real-time, real-world weather. So we are no less than plugged into a weather station at the Hockenheim Ring, easy for you to say. And as we look at the weather, it's just now dropped to just below 25 degrees in downtown Hockenheim, and so it will do in a moment on the server. As soon as the cars get on track, it'll synchronise. So the drivers are lining up at the end of the pit row now and really anxious to get out there on their option tyres and get some laps in before the very likely rain arrives. So we've got real-time, real-world weather. The cars can use wet tyres. We've got full wets, inters, as well as 2 compounds of dry tyres, the option and the prime. And so there's going to be a mad dash now to get laps in and try to put a banker in before the weather comes.
Yeah, indeed, and we saw a lot of wet races this year. We saw only 1 or 2 races last year, but this year it's been pretty much only wet races in ACE and WC. We saw only 2 dry races in WC, otherwise it was all the time, wet, or mixed conditions.
And what a massive challenge it creates for the drivers, not just on the day but also in preparation. I know, Martin, you're one of the leading World Championship drivers, and a lot of effort goes into finding an acceptable wet setup, let alone a compromise setup that you can go to with the pit menu if rain comes during the race.
Yes, indeed.
Now, both the Maguire brothers were just absolutely on fire in the practice session. A bit of late news, a bit of gossip if you like, is that Luke Maguire has changed teams. Luke was driving for Invictus Racing. He's left Invictus Racing since the previous event and has now joined his brother in the Ghost Speed organisation, driving for Ghost Speed Engineering. And the 2 Maguire brothers were setting phenomenal quali simulation laps in practice, getting down into, Adam Maguire got into a low 1 minute 14. Only 4 drivers got under a 1:15. But Adam and Luke were firmly lodged at the top of the totem pole, and those guys are showing some serious form here in quali pace.
Yes, definitely. It looks like that Ghost Speed has managed to create a very good setup for their car. From what I have seen, it seems like they are running a pretty high downforce setup. So it looks like they're counting on managing or starting from the lead and pulling away. So we'll see if they can do that. If not, then they're going to have a tough race ahead of them.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting spot when you mentioned that late in the practice session and saw what their top speeds were. The other impacts, of course, if we do get rain, the rear wing setting is fixed. They can lower the front wing to sort of help the wet car balance. but they can't change the rear wing. So if they are in fact running a fairly high overall wing setting, that will work for their advantage if we do get wet weather, because whether it rains or not, the cars have now set a lap time, and they're now in what we call parc ferme. There's only a very small menu of items that can be changed, and suspension, gearing, diff, none of those things can be changed. They've got access to front wing, brake balance and pressure, brake bias, and that's about it. So it's steering lock, I think.
Yeah.
So they're fully committed. And the other thing, of course, with a high wing, they will generally suffer from a bit less tyre deck, because the aero is planting the car so firmly on the road that mechanical grip isn't called upon as much, and it does lower your tyre temp. So if they can put these lap times in with high wing and get themselves on pole, they are going to be very, very hard to pass, especially with, if they do get better tyre wear later in the race. But anyway, I rabbited on for long enough about the technical stuff. We've got some quali laps occurring now.
Yeah, Luke Maguire so far the quickest on the track, 1:14.7. He basically matched his lap time from the practice session. Now Adam Maguire on his first qualifying run, and so far 0.02 of a second quicker than Luke Maguire in the first sector.
He might be a good one to watch for the rest of this lap then. Yeah, he's gone purple in sector 1.
Yeah, indeed. And he already had a one try, but looks like he made a mistake or something, because he didn't set a lap time. So that is basically only has three tries instead of 4. And now 1/4 of a second quicker than Luke Maguire. That is a good lap so far from Adam Maguire. He just needs to get it right in the final corners. This corner, the penultimate and the last corner are so hard to get right. It seemed to be pretty good from Adam Maguire, and he comes up to the line.
Yep, and that's pole.
5.
Pole with a 14.5.
Yeah.
Mega committed through the Sachs curve in the following section, doing a lot of corrections with that steering wheel on throttle. But yeah, magnificent lap. And now Luke Maguire has gone purple in sector 1. So the Maguire brothers battling it out.
Yeah. So let's see.
Oh, big commitment through the hairpin and exiting the hairpin. He got a lot of oversteer there on throttle and had to apply a massive amount of opposite lock as he enters the Mercedes-Benz stand section.
That wasn't really perfect there. Missed the apex.
Oh, big spin. I think he might have hit the curb a little bit there.
Yeah. He hit the curb, and also I think he touched the gravel a little bit. Take a quick look. Yeah, he touched the gravel a little bit, but it was mostly the curb that caused his car to spin. So yeah, but still, Adam Maguire still on provisional pole. Didn't really match his lap time from practice session. He's 0.2 off. So I'm pretty sure that he can do better than that, as do most of these drivers, I think.
So Sander Callis, who is leading the title chase at the moment, throughout the 6 races we've had so far, is on an outlap and just about to. In fact, he is now he's coming through the final sector, just entering the Sachs curve now on an outlap, and really getting a lot of heat into these tyres. He's working this car very hard. Currently lying in P4, but about to deliver a hot lap, so we might just go for a ride with Sander Callis if our broadcaster Dave can manage that.
Yeah, there was an improvement, 1.5 tenths, and he goes. Well, he's still 4th, but he improved to a 14.888. It's an interesting lap time. He improved by some 2 tenths, something like that. It was 3 tenths almost. So, but didn't move up any places. He's 1 tenth behind Sergi Eras in 3rd.
Van Delft just did a personal best for a 15.189, which moved him just up above George Winter.
Yeah, and the 2 ACR drivers, George Winter and Fabian Roof, very, very close together. only 500ths of a second separating them, and Lucas Schmidt behind him, also an ACR driver, 600ths of a second behind Fabian. So yeah, very, very close indeed.
So Luke Maguire and George Winter both exiting the pits now for their third run at quali.
Jos Araneda has moved himself up into P5 115.0. It is a good lap from him, his first try of the day. And Lucas Schmidt on a good hot lap. Half a second of an improvement, and he goes up to P7. Just very, very close behind Felix van Delft, only 200ths of a second. This field is so bunched up, it's incredible, but it's even more bunched up in WC.
Yeah, it's interesting looking at the top 6 or 7. Adam Maguire is the only one with any kind of decent gap to his brother Luke. The other thing that we've seen in previous races at this track in previous seasons, that turn 1 and into turn 2 can be very, very hairy at the start. So I think if the Maguire brothers would be a lot happier if they do manage to lock out the front row.
Yeah, definitely. And now Luke Maguire for his third hot lap, just starting now. He's the only driver from the top 10 currently to do so. And now actually George Winter is also on a hot lap now, but it will be interesting to see what Luke can do. Not an improvement in the first sector. Lost over half a tenth on himself, but it's still only first sector. That was yeah, not really good. Not a really good line into the airpin there. So
yeah, it got a little bit greedy on the exit too. He was a bit crossed up and really stomped on the throttle there.
And Adam Maguire spins in turn 1 on his third hot lap as well. So yeah, these drivers doing quite a lot of mistakes, even though they are the fastest.
Yeah. So I think Sander Callis, unless I'm wrong, I think Sander might be starting a hot lap now. Yep. Just entering from the Sud curve.
Yes.
Big commitment required in the Nord curve, the North curve. Gets that right. And let's wait and see what his sector 1 time is like.
Slight improvement.
Yeah, it's a PB.
But it's still 2/10 off Adam Maguire, which is amazing, because sector 1 is only 3 corners.
Yeah, it's only 15 seconds long, 14 seconds long. Yeah. He gets a good exit from the hairpin, which is so hard to judge. And often the drivers will move brake bias forward for this tight left-hander, second gear left-hander in front of the Mercedes-Benz stand. Oh, massive commitment on the exit of that one.
Yeah, a little bit of oversteer. What about a second sector? Another improvement, and actually even.
Brilliant line through the Mobile 1 curve and into Sachs. Big camber here on Sachs. You've got to judge it so right, and he stays on the right side of the crown and on the gas as he approaches the Sud curve. This is looking like a clean lap. Lots of apex there, minor corrections on the wheel, and Sanders should get a great time out of this.
Yeah, and it's P2.
Oh, wonderful lap from Sander Callis there, championship leader.
Yeah,
that's how you do it, ladies and gentlemen in the audience.
Exactly.
It's amazing to see the level of aggression and the level of precision at the same time. That's the thing that's so hard to master. This is such a technical track, of course. Lots of camber changes, curves that you've almost got to choose to be quick on the way in or quick on the way out. So Maguire's got someone now 700ths of a second behind him.
Yeah, and Sander Callis actually splitting the two brothers there. And Fabian Ruth actually just went faster by 3.5 tenths up into P8, but that's been taken now by Tom Satterley with a 1:15.2, and with 7 minutes to go, he already used all his 4 attempts, which is interesting, since the rear road is still building up and the track is gonna keep getting quicker. It's interesting that he's already finished his qualifying with 7 minutes to go.
Yeah, interesting decision, and I guess probably the only thing he could be thinking would be maybe traffic, or that he wants to get into a groove and get his laps done, as close to each other as possible, and not sit in the pits for too long, losing his composure. Schmidt and Ruth both heading out for another warm-up lap. I'm on board with Haras. He's made a very good run through turn 1, got the car straightened, and entering to the long straight, but they call it the parabolic curve, but it's not really a curve, it's flat out through here. And Haras seemed to have a pretty good sector 1. Yes, it was a PB, sector 1, and only 1.8 tenths down on the pole sitter, or the provisional pole sitter, Adam Maguire. He's coming up on the back of Luke Maguire, so he'll be hoping as they approach the Mercedes stand that Luke Maguire will see him there. That was beautiful through there, taking good curb. Yeah, I think Haras is on a very nice lap here, and this could move him up. He's only got to gain about 400ths to move him up a position.
Yeah, and Adam Maguire also on a hot lap, but not an improvement. 400ths of a second off in the second sector. Can he gain something in the last sector? He can indeed, and he has improved by 1/10, so he has found 1.5 tenths in the final sector. What about Sergi Eras? And he doesn't improve.
No improvement. Yeah, Luke Maguire was possibly far enough ahead that he wasn't going to impact him with dirty air, but just psychologically, when you see that car a couple of seconds up the road, it's very, very hard to retain that full focus. Van Delft has just done personal bests in sector 1, sector 2. So as you mentioned, the real road, the rubber level of the track is improving.
Ooh, not the best final sector so far from Felix van Delft. Can he improve though? That is the question. He can, but he lost time in the final sector, and as you can see, he's not happy about it at all. So Luke Maguire also on a hot lap, but
he's lost
time.
it.
And again, it's the same mistake. Twice in a row now. Yeah. So... seems like that both Maguire brothers just been too aggressive, because Adam Maguire only completed 2 out of his 4 hot laps, and Luke Maguire completed only 1 of his 3 hot laps.
Oh, that's an interesting statistic. I think, and Eras is heading out for another, and Sander Callis also, with another cycle in hand. Callis is heading out to put in a lap.
Yeah, and this will be the last try for Sander Callis. Clipped the anti-cut curb there, which is very dangerous, but let's see what Callis can do. Can he take a pole position here?
Oh, no, that was a suspect lap, that corner. Gets the car rotated and straight. This is so tricky here because you're trying to get the car rotated so quickly, but it's such a long straight. You need to get the power down as quickly as you can.
Yeah.
313 kph from Callis as he gets his top speed.
Yeah, that's 6 kph better or higher than from the Go Speed boys. So that's interesting, and it will be interesting to see how's that gonna affect their race performance.
Callis sector 1 was quite off actually.
Yeah, the second sector also. He actually, he gives up. So
yeah,
I already saw in turn 1 he was pretty slow there. So I was like, okay, what is going on?
He's aborted that lap.
So
Maguire has another shot.
Yeah, Maguire has the last shot, and also Eras, I think, is now on a hot lap. So is, I think, Score.
And
Yes,
Maguire went very wide on turn 1 and ran onto the grass and ruined his attempt.
So that's interesting. Like I said, Adam Maguire completed 2 out of his 4 hot laps, and Luke Maguire only 1 of his 4 hot laps, and he completed only his first attempt.
Yeah, that is incredible. It just, I guess, it shows the level of commitment these guys are putting into their quali lap.
Yeah. And like I said, Christoph Schuur was on his last hot lap, and he improved and moved himself up into 8th place, moving ahead of Satterley and Roof. And Sergi Eras giving up on his hot lap as well.
So Jos Araneda appears to be on an outlap. He still has a 3-lap cycle in hand, and by that view, is what we mean is the drivers have a total of 12 laps to use in the qualifying session, and one attempt normally involves an outlap, a hot lap, and then an in lap, because as soon as you cross the start-finish line, it counts as a lap. So having one attempt uses up 3 laps, unless you want to get cute and try to do it a 4-lap cycle on primes or something and get the primes hot. So Araneda is lining himself up with 40 seconds to go to be one of the last guys to cross the line. Van Delft is in front of him with the same thing in mind. Schmidt ahead of him. So we've got 3 guys in close proximity.
Yeah, and also Ruth.
Oh yeah, Ruth is there too.
So we've got 4 drivers in the top 10.
Temperatures dropped down to 24.7. Ruth blows out on turn 1. Arenade's through clean.
So no improvement from Schmidt, no improvement for Felix van Delft, and no improvement for Araneda as well.
That's interesting. In theory, the rubber level should be higher, but I guess it's the pressure too, knowing it's your last shot.
Yeah, it's very close though, because Schmidt only 100 of a second slower, Felix van Delft 600 hundredths of a second slower, and Araneda 700ths of a second slower. So it's still pretty close. We'll see what they can do in the rest of the lap. Now, Lucas Schmidt doesn't improve as well. 1.5 tenths off his PB. So Felix van Delft 1/10 of his PB. And what about Jos Araneda 200ths of his PB? So he improved in the second sector, but it's still not enough so far.
Yeah, no, it's a solid but not spectacular sector 2.
Ooh, Lucas Schmidt, spins in the final corner, has a half spin there. So that's over for him. What about Felix van Delft? Improves by 0.5 tenth, but it doesn't move up any places, stays 6th. And what about Araneda? Improves as well, but only by 1/100th of a second. And that is it.
So that is our grid order, ladies and gentlemen. Adam Maguire on pole, Sander Callis accompanying him on row 1, Luke Maguire and Sergei Eras on row 2, Jos Araneda, Felix van Delft on row 3, Lucas Schmidt, Christoph Schoer taking up P7, P8, Satterley and Ruth on row 5, Rosland and Winter, number 11, number 12, DeWald Nell, P13, Luka Okaslovic, P14, and Zarov 15, Vasilev 16, Jared van der Weed, some of these names I'm sorry I'm not familiar with, I hope I'm not getting them right, and David Ibanez in P17, 18, and then we have Alves and Barbakov. Now maybe there was no qualifier or backer grid for those guys.
Yeah, they start from the pits.
1.5 seconds covering the first 14 runners. So pretty tight. And as warm-up begins now, what we'll do is we'll play an entertaining advertisement from our valued championship sponsor, Thrustmaster. We can highly recommend their products, and a lot of our top drivers drive with the Thrustmaster products. So if you enjoy this commercial, and we'll join you at the other side.
Hey man, I got that new TMX Thrustmaster wheel. It's going down.
Xbox One?
I can't wait to play when I get home.
Yo, let me play.
Yeah, I mean, after I play first. Yeah.
You know, I'll race it for it.
So I have to handle it.
Well, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. And if you're watching the screen, you will see that in the couple of minutes that took to play the Thrustmaster commercial, that predicted rain indeed has arrived. So the drivers are now in for a world of pain as they try to get their setups amended to something that'll work in the wet. What impact is it going to have on the drivers, Martin?
It's going to have a lot of impact because, I think most of the drivers, practice on a dry track. And, since now, it has started raining in warm-up and not before qualifying, they can't change the setup too much. So, it's going to be very, very tough for them, to get used to this and to get into the groove now, especially with a setup that is, set for dry conditions.
Yeah, it's a whole different ball game. 67 laps in the dry takes a lot of skill, but you can start to rely a little bit on muscle memory and just make some adjustments. But there is so much work that goes into every single braking zone and every single corner in the wet.
Yeah.
In these vehicles. In ACE, there is no traction control. There is no anti-lock brakes available. In fact, the only assist available to these drivers at all, according to Formula SimRacing rules, they can have an automatic clutch. So these guys are driving the car completely naked in all of its balance difficulties and dealing with a wet track.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting, because now it can completely change who will be the fastest and who will not. So maybe we could see some interesting changes in positions in the first couple of laps.
Yeah, well, indeed we could, because not all the guys, some of the guys absolutely detest racing these cars in wet weather, and it is very, very hard.
Oh yeah, it is hard, very hard indeed. So
might just touch on the standings for a moment for the audience. Now, I'm just bringing it up on my screen now, but leading the ACE Championship is Sander Callis with 120 points after 6 races, so fantastic scoring average. This is the 7th race of the season. Some of the artwork will call it round 8 because it's officially round 8 that was to be happening here at Hockenheim, but it's the 7th race. Sander Callis has 120 points. Felix van Delft has had a very strong second half of his season so far with 90. Sergi Heras, 79 points. De Waldnell on 57. Lucas Alves on 46. Christoph Schoer on 38. Closely followed by Lucas Schmidt on 36. Adam Maguire on 33. Danny van den Eek 30. And Arif Rosland equal with Philippe Giraud on 28 points. I'll just run through the top 10 so people don't get tired of me talking points and names. But we've still got a real fight on our hands. There's a lot of rounds to go, and a couple of the drivers are really starting to find some form.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm looking now at Dmitry Zarov and other drivers. A lot of drivers making mistakes, and it's hard for them now to get used to the weather, because I think it was expected before the race weekend. There was like a 60, 70, maybe even 80% chance of rain before this weekend, not only for today but also for tomorrow. So we could see some rain tomorrow in WC as well. So it was a little bit expected, but I still think that these drivers mostly practice on dry tracks. So yeah, it is very tough for them, and they don't have much time. They have only now 4 minutes left. So yeah, I think it's really going to show who's really the best here in the Ace Grid.
Yeah, I was gonna say pretty much the same thing. If when you win in the wet, there's massive bragging rights attached to that.
Yeah,
because you can't fluke it.
Yeah,
another interesting bit of gossip since the last round was we were talking about the Maguire brothers and the move to Ghost Speed. But we were also talking about, in the warm-up, talking about Felix van Delft, who left a small team that he drove with last winter and joined a big team this winter. And Felix has really started to find some form as well, driving for flag to flag. And I'm sure, you experience it yourself, Martin, but with a big team, you've got a lot of test miles happening, a lot of guys working on various aspects of the setup and strategy, and you just come to the event much better prepared and much better informed when you're with a larger team. So it is tough when you're in a small team.
Yeah, it is tough. Before I came to FSR, I was in a small team in a national league, and when I came here to FSR to ACR, it was mind blowing for me. How much these guys prepare for the races. How much they go into the details with setup and strategy, fuel and so on, tires and stuff like that. So when you're in a small team, it's tough to get the good results. When you come into the big team, it can really help you. You have the support of the team. You have a lot of guys working on the strategy, helping with the setups and so on. Maybe even helping you as a driver, if you have some really, really quick guys on the team. So yeah, I'm sure it has really helped him, and it's good for him.
Well, I know my teammate last season, David Cook, who went on to take out the Pro Championship. David improved massively over the season because we were driving with some very quick people, and particularly Kuba Brzezinski. And David used to get data from Kuba and analyze it in Motec, and then he'd do a video merge with Replay Office, and he was just absolutely learning corner by corner from what Kuba was doing, and over the season just got quicker and quicker and took out the championship. And you just can't do that on your own, banging laps around on a server. You need to be able to benchmark yourself against somebody really quick.
Exactly.
So Maguire has put in the fastest lap during the warm-up, which is pretty important indication for him.
Yeah, George Winter, second fastest, but he's 6/10 off, and there's quite a big difference between the drivers. So it's going to be very exciting.
There is, and George Winter and Zarov are the two that have kind of had the biggest jump up the grid in terms of lap time relative to the pole sitters in these wet conditions.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. The rain is not, letting up. It's still pouring down.
Now, I think Dave Paling, our broadcaster, has at his disposal that fantastic intro piece that the media team produced for FSR, and it's just such a lovely way to set the scene. We might ask Dave if he'd like to pop that on. Well, welcome back, everybody. That intro video just makes my skin tingle. I hope you all enjoy it. So the drivers are now just making their final adjustments within the parameters of Parc Fermé to get these cars optimised for wet running. And they'll be needing total fuel consumption over this race is going to be, well, in a dry race, it's about 3.15 litres per lap. 67 laps, you're talking about around 211 litres of fuel. Now, on a wet track, fuel consumption is lower because you are just not pinned to the throttle, just isn't pinned to the floor as much. So their fuel load can come off a bit. They'll all have tools within their car to show them their fuel consumption, so they'll be able to make adjustments prior to their final pit stop. So they'll be carrying a bit less fuel. They'll be running a bit less front wing normally, and probably reduced brake pressure as well as change to brake balance, and maybe even steering ratio. Sometimes nice to slow the steering down a little bit in the wet, because it's so easy for the front end to write checks that the rear end can't cash.
Yeah, and the rain is also going to have a big impact on strategy, because these guys make a strategy for a dry race, but when you have a wet race, you have to basically improvise, when you can go on intermediates, when you can go on dry tires, how much fuel, you can go with, and how many stops to make with the wet tires. So it's going to be very, very tough for the strategic guys in these teams, to get the strategy right, and we'll see who comes out on top.
And how many laps do you think a good driver can get out of these wet tires? What would you say, Martin?
I think half a race, maybe.
Yep.
So, I think these drivers would want to go on a one-stop from previous experiences. It looks like that's the best option to go with. So we'll see what the teams will choose to go with.
So warm-up is over. We've got one or two cars just finishing their final lap of warm-up, and then they'll grid up and head out for the formation lap. It's going to be hard to bet against Adam Maguire, I think. The 0.6 of a second faster wet lap.
Yeah. But with the amount of mistakes we saw from Adam and Luke as well in qualifying, and now wet track as well, that's going to be quite tough on them. And we'll see if they're going to have a clean race, or if they're going to do some mistakes throughout the race. So it looks like we are set for the race. A reminder, Alves and Barbukov starting from the pits, and Fabian Roof having a 13th place grid drop, so that means he's gonna basically start last. And he qualified 10th, so yeah, not too good for Fabian, but with these conditions, a lot of things can happen.
So is Sander Callis still driving around the track?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yes, but it looks like we'll be moving on to the race in a few seconds. And here we go.
Attention, grid, we're all non-
And George Chatsipantelis has joined, actually, in warm-up. So we have 21 drivers on the grid. And it looks like Chatsipantelis is going to start last on the grid. So, yeah. Chatsipantelis is also a Go Speed driver. So we'll see what he can do. That's going to be very, very tough on him, because he wasn't here in practice, he wasn't in qualifying, he joined in warm-up. So we'll see what he can do, but anyway, the formation hub has just started.
Well, I guess the only thing in his favour is that the track only got wet during the warm-up, so he had as much time on a wet track as everyone else.
And we have trouble. Schatzi Panzer is already, I think, hit the back of Fabian Roof, so that means Schatzi Panzer is going to start from a pit lane along Arbukov and Alves. I think Roof actually, I don't know, had a little bit of trouble getting away from his grid slot. And we're having a restart.
Oh, yep, I can see that now. Yeah, that was a lag-related issue, it seems. A car suddenly appeared in front of him.
Yeah, seems like that. And while that happened, Luka Oslakovic has disconnected, so that's interesting.
Yes, well, if he does manage to rejoin in time, which is highly unlikely,
yeah,
he will have to start from pit lane. There was a big controversy about this last year because at Canada, I think it was, Kuba Brzezinski had a disconnection and was allowed to rejoin, and the race was restarted. And there was a lot of protests, a lot of analysis, and one of the key facts involved is, of course, if you disconnect, I think that's the end of parc fermé. You can come back in and set your car up differently. So it sort of escapes parc fermé. So that's why there's a substantial, penalty applied. So turn one is hairy on a dry track. Last season in Pro, I elected to start from pit lane, even though I sort of qualified mid-pack or the back of the mid-pack, and started in pit lane just through sheer concern about turn one, turn two, and in fact I gained 10 places on lap one starting in pit lane, just driving through around carbon fibre basically for a whole lap. So let's see if these guys can keep it tidy. One of the small things, of course, that might help them do that is in the wet they don't get the same acceleration off the line. They'll be going a lot slower and probably being a bit more careful.
Yeah, and I think Todor Vasilev actually didn't join the grid in time before the formation lap, so it looks like he will be starting from the pits as well.
Dmitry Zarov had a bit of an off in front of the Mercedes-Benz stand there. He got into the kitty litter, but he's rejoined the track now. And he's off again at the Mobile 1 curve, so Zarov is having some real issues keeping this car on track. Yes, Oslakovic has managed to rejoin the server, but I'm afraid now the event has started. He will not, under normal circumstances, get a chance to rejoin. We've had one restart already, so I doubt Cameron would restart the event again.
Yeah.
So as the final cars join the grid, I'll let you take it away and call the action if you like, Martin.
Okay then. So here we go. The drivers are lined up on the grid. And here we go. FSR ACE Championship Round 7 at Germany, Hockenheim. The 5 lights are on and it's lights out and away we go. And it looks like a decent start from Maguire, but Sander Callas got a better getaway. And into turn 1, Callas takes the lead from Adam Maguire. And we've got some already crashes there. I think it was even between the Maguire brothers. Sergi Eras now goes up into 3rd place. Felix van Daft into 4th. Luke Maguire actually fell down to 5th place. He's now side by side with Felix van Delft. Maguire has the inside line, goes back to 4th. Christoph Schur actually had it. Oh, and there's a big crash in the background.
We've had a big off
George
down
Winter.
there. Winter's involved.
Winter is involved, Rostland's involved, and George Winter out of the race already. That is a big shame, and Rostland has a bit of damage, I think, as well. I don't see anything at the moment, but yeah.
Luke Maguire had some contact at the start, which set him back. He seems to be recovering. Now, he's lost a front wing end plate on the left-hand side of the car, I believe.
I don't think it was actually Luke Maguire. It looks like it was somebody else. But not really. Oh, he did actually. Yeah, I see it now. He lost. Yeah, I think he had a contact with Adam Maguire. So yeah, not a good start for them because Santa Callas now in the lead of the race, almost a 1 second gap after lap 1.
And
Maguire going sideways there.
Luke is struggling in the south curve, the Sud curve. Potentially, I guess, from that front wing end plate, losing him a bit of downforce, but he ran wide, ran over the anti-cut there as he lost the car. So he's dropped back a touch.
Scoor and Felix van der fight for 5th place. Scoor going around the outside into turn 2. They're still side by side. Now turn 3. Oh, that was really close between the two drivers. And Felix van der holds it round the outside of turn 3.
And De Waldnell is in the pits.
Okay.
Perhaps he's serving a stop. Oh no, he's back there again. He's leaving now.
Again, having a look around the outside, and also Lucas Schmidt being very close. That was very close to be between them. But behind them, Jos Araneda and Shatsi Panzer is fighting for 8th place. And Shatsi Panzer, I think, has a connection problem because he just suddenly disappeared.
Well, he had that lag issue, if you remember, when the grid was forming up as well. So
yeah,
Chatsapantelis might, in fact, be a bit of an issue.
It looks like it's race over for Chatsapantelis, and that is a big shame because he started in 20th place and he got up to 8th after lap 1. That is a big shame.
Well, what a stunning start by Sander Callis. I mean, fantastic work there. He was on the front row, given, yes, but he passed Maguire. He's now seized the initiative. And he's in front. It's Maguire that's got to drive through his spray. And Sander Callis has got to be the one who adventures to see how much the line is drying. And Maguire can just be the hunter. But fabulous start, which has got the series championship leader in the box seat for this event.
Yeah, and it's going to be very, very, very tough for Maguire to get past Callas because he has the low top speed.
Ibanez is sitting. He looks like he's got a serious suspension damage. His wheel is about 20 degrees to the left to go straight. Yeah. And he might be hoping that can be repaired. But suspension repairs, if you do nominate them, take an age. So looks like he has.
Sometimes it's just unrepairable. And lost an M plate already. He's
going to be a better man than me if he comes around again.
Yeah, and the suspension damage is still there, so I suspect Ibanez, it's race over for him.
Yeah, I don't think he'll want to continue in a wet race with such a badly damaged car, so we'll come back and see what he does.
Yeah, and he stops the car. And it's race over for David Ibanez from the F1 Champs team.
Now, Maguire is really, really keeping very close watch on Sander Callis. There's less than a second between them. So Maguire has good pace.
He does, but he doesn't have the top speed.
Indeed. Yeah, with the aero. So
and even when he is in the slipstream, I noticed, even when he's in the slipstream, he is only matching Sander Callas in the slipstream. So let's take a look now what the top speed is going to be, and you can see he's not closing him down at all.
He's gone purple, but only by 1/100th of a second. And yeah, no top speed advantage. Luke Maguire is the one who's got some top speed. Oh, big recovery from Adam out of the hairpin. Wow, this is just looking like a massive challenge for these guys. It is still raining in Hockenheim.
Ooh, a little bit of contact between Araneda and Schmidt, but that was only slight. I bet Schmidt even felt it. So, and Schmidt went a little bit sideways there before the Mercedes arena.
Well, we've got a very tight bunch, really, when you look at Eras, Shoa, Van Delft, Schmidt, Araneda, all very, very close together. A little bit of a gap back to Zarov.
So, in terms of DNFs, out of 20 drivers, 15 continue. So, Winter, Van der Weyde and Alves retired on lap 1, and Chatsapantelis with Ibanez followed them in the next 2 laps. So 15 drivers left out of 20.
Okay,
And
guys,
Callas
sorry
gaining
to
a little bit of
butt
time.
in quickly. I'm just going to have to restart the stream quickly, so apology, folks. Having a few technical
Okay.
problems, so I'll be back live as quickly as I can be.
So just in case you didn't hear that from our broadcaster, Dave Paling, the stream will need to be restarted. We've had some technical issues. So we will continue to commentate, hoping that you've got sound. And we'll become a radio broadcast for the next couple of few minutes while we get that stream back online for you. Still driving in very close proximity. Luke Maguire back 6 seconds. And then we've got Heras, Schoer, Van Delft, Araneda, Schmidt, all covering about 4 seconds worth of road. So these guys are in a very interesting battle. Massive amount of work going on in the steering wheel. I'm just in the cockpit at the moment in Lucas Schmidt's car, having a look at these cars just ahead of him. And man, it's stable. Everyone sort of hovering around the 129, 130, although Maguire's just gone purple again. With a lap time, insignificant amount of time quicker than Callas, maybe half a tenth. So the full wet tyre is actually very, very durable. So if you think they can maybe do a one stop if the track stays wet, whereas the inter seems to wear out a bit more than like an option. Is that a fair call, Martin?
I don't know actually, because usually these drivers, what they do is they don't go from wets to intermediates to dries. They go from wets to dries.
Ah, I see.
So we haven't seen much running on the intermediates. It was mostly, drivers racing on the wet tires instead of the intermediates.
Yeah, well, the little bit of testing I did certainly last year made me think that the inter is a bit more like a cut option. You know, it's treaded, but it behaves much like a soft slick. And whereas the full wet's got such deep grooves in it, it can afford to be a little bit harder compound.
And Sander Callas actually having a little bit of a gap now. The gap is 1 second.
And Luke Maguire's had a good sec one, but of course it's a very short sector.
Well, when I compare the running of Callas and Maguire, Callas' car is much, much more stable than the car of Adam Maguire.
Well, that's an interesting observation.
Yeah, because Maguire is rear-ending a lot out of pretty much every corner. So Callas is starting to gain a little bit of ground on Adam Maguire. All drivers have a 5.5 second gap to Luke Maguire, so the gap between second, third, and the gap between third to fourth is quite big, around 6 seconds. Behind them, we have a nice battle. Shkur, Eras, and Araneda all in 1.5 seconds, and I see a little bit of sunshine. But it's still raining, of course.
Well, Luke Maguire is certainly having to wrestle with this car. Callas has just gone purple with a lap time about 0.4 of a second quicker, so that is a significant improvement.
It is indeed. And again, Maguire struggling coming out of turn 2. He was almost sideways. So yeah, I don't think that Adam is feeling too happy in the car right now. And again, Callas just gaining 0.3 on the exit of the hairpin. So
Van Delft dropping a little bit off the back of that train that begins with Schoer and ended with him. So Schoer, Araneda and Heras now still in very close proximity.
oh, he's struggling a lot. Schmidt is closing in. a little bit. So this could be an interesting battle for 7th place between Felix van Delft and Lucas Schmidt.
Yes, well, Schmidt is seems to be moving in on him ever so slightly, although their last lap time was very, very similar.
I think this time around he's going to be he's going to gain a little bit of time. Oh, and Felix van Delft. Oh, that was very close with the anti-cut curb in the final sets of corners. And now Lucas Schmidt really on the back of Felix van Delft, starting lap 8.
It looks to me a little bit like Felix has taken maybe one or two clicks too much off the front wing, which is the sort of the normal move when you're moving from a dry setup to a wet setup. You've got to match the front grip with the rear grip, and rear grip disappears so much. You've got to take a whole lot off the front wing, otherwise you've got incredible oversteer. But the flip side of that is if you go too far, you've got a lot of understeer, and I think Felix's car at the moment looks to me from his wheel movements that he's really got a lot of understeer going on in that car.
The Eric Frostland out of the race. Don't know exactly what happened to him, but unfortunate for him, of course.
Or Van Delft having to make some big corrections there under brakes, and now Schmidt's right on his gearbox.
Not only Schmidt, but also look, Sadlerly behind
Oh
them.
yes, very tight group of 3.
So this could get really, really feisty. Oh, and Maguire. Maguire is behind Christoph Schur. And Luke Maguire has a penalty. Luke Maguire has a... Oh god, he has a lot of stop and goes. I see that he has... wow. He has 6 penalties. Stop and go penalties. That is weird. I don't know what happened to him.
Where can you see that, Martin?
I see it on the LCD screen, like on the right bottom of the screen.
In his car?
In the game.
Okay.
So I see that he has a stop and go penalty, and I see 6 penalties there. So I'm wondering what happened there. I don't know, maybe he went too wide or something. That's really weird. Oh, and I hear crashing noises. Oh, and that is, I see Vasiliev lost his front wing. He's in the pits now, has a little bit of suspension damage to it as well. Now Fabian Ruff went sideways into the airpin in the second sector. But yeah, that's surely interesting. Still not sure what happened to Luke Maguire there. Well, we'll see what happens, but he's struggling a lot. Well, this is interesting because Schur and Maguire are losing 15 seconds to the first 2 guys, while it was like 6 seconds, 7 seconds just like 2 laps ago. And Vasiliev out of the race as well.
Oh, yep, retired. Looks like the suspension wasn't repairable.
So I'm still kind of confused on what happened there.
Yeah, I did not spot that, so I can't help you on that one.
Yeah, I think it happened a few laps ago already. But we'll see what happens with the penalties that he has. He has 2 more laps to serve his penalty. And Adam Maguire again closing in on Sander Callas a little bit. The gap between them is now 6 to 7 tenths.
Hi guys, sorry to cut in again. I'm having some major problems with the broadcast here at the moment. I'm trying to work through and fix, but it looks like RF2 may have crashed on my side at the moment. We may have to stop the stream again, but just keep going with some radio commentary for now.
We're just updating you that there are still some technical difficulties going on with the stream, so we'll keep you informed as a bit of a radio broadcast until the technical issues are sorted. It seems that the rFactor 2 sim might have crashed at the broadcast end. So we'll keep you updated and informed as to what's going on track. So 11 of 67 laps completed. We have 13 runners remaining out of the 21 that began.
20, I think.
20
because
began, pardon me.
Slakovic didn't start. And now Schmidt actually relatively close to Felix van der Elft, only 3 tenths behind him, and now they're on the long straight. And it looks like they're gonna go side by side. Looks like the ACR car has a little bit more top speed. And they're going side by side into the hairpin. Schmidt on the inside, Felix van der Elft on the outside. Van der Elft tries to hang it round the outside in the hairpin. Oh, it's very close between them. Schmidt rear-ending on the exit of the hairpin.
Oh.
Felix van der Elft just about stays ahead with better traction.
That was like...
Felix van der Elft spins! And oh god, and both guys contact in the Mercedes-Benz arena, and Schmidt actually losing a part of his front wing.
Hopefully he won't have suspension damage. It was a fairly low-speed contact. He seems to be feeling the car now to see what it feels like.
It seems to be
but
okay.
What a shame, because that was a mega battle. It was like playing tennis on ice there, what the guys were doing, but they managed to leave room for each other.
Yeah.
And it was all down to the drive out of the hairpin.
Yeah,
he won that
Felix made the mistake.
Luke Maguire is pitting. I'm not sure if that's to serve a penalty or...
Yeah, it is. And it's going to be interesting to see how long is the penalty. Is he going to stay there for 10 seconds, I wonder?
Felix van der Elft has had a big crash into the pit wall.
Oh, and he's out of the race.
Yeah, and that's terminal.
Yeah.
That's a real shame. He was putting up a great battle there.
Yeah, and
with Schmidt.
Well, this sucks because Maguire, the penalties basically like merged into one, so he has a 60-second stop and go penalty. I don't know why. I have absolutely no idea why, but he has a 60-second stop and go penalty. Almost 1 lap down.
Well, the one, yeah, which is a pretty grim scenario. But the one thing I would say is in P12, and
yeah, actually 80 second stop and go.
He's typing a message to ask the race director what's all that about. The race director does have the ability, if he's fully aware of the facts, in a particular situation, he can come in and remove a penalty from a driver, but normally game issued penalties aren't normally deleted.
Okay guys, just to update you, we are going to be having George come in as a backup streamer, so the stream is probably going to come to an end in a moment. We can get back to the action. I'm going to try and sort that out as quickly as possible, so if we do cut off to come back live, once again apologies for that.
So in case you didn't hear that from our broadcaster, we are going to switch to our backup.
Why? I think
taking the fight to him.
Now he's actually lost time again. You can see he has no traction whatsoever, and now the gap again, 1.2 seconds. So he lost a lot of.